Hello and welcome to the Den. It's Saturday and my name is Eric and I am here to talk to you about dating. Now, it's been 5 days of people talking about dating, including a three-way conversation between some of the other men in the Den. So, what else is there really to say other than to tell you a little bit about some of the dating stories of my life and to tell you not to do that? Why don't I get started by talking about the very first date that I ever went on. It was a very intimate experience between me and my high school girlfriend and her parents, and we all went to go see The Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, that's totally true. It's actually completely a true story. We were sitting about 5 rows in front of them, and I kept looking back, and her dad was giving me, like, you know, that kind of evil eye look, like, I'm watching you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're thinking. I wasn't actually thinking any of that. I was thinking, like, fuck, this movie is sick. So, yeah, my girlfriend and I, back in high school, we were pretty cool. She was a novel writer. We were both into writing. And she wrote some vampire stories. It was pretty awesome. We were both kind of into horror and sick shit like that. And, yeah, we got into Rocky Horror, and it was a thing. We were fun, but I think that she figured out that I was queer before I did, and she cut it off, and it was sad, but it was for the best. So, anyways, but that was actually not that bad of a date, even though her parents were on it. It was a lot of fun. We both really enjoyed the movie. It was an amazing film. And we spent a lot of time talking about it afterwards, and yeah, it was just good, like, all around. So, you know, I know that Evan, you're down on date movies. Like, I get that, you know, intellectually, but I'm the kind of person that loves to talk about shit for, like, hours and hours. So, to me, the movie part of the date is, like, just the beginning, because then there's, like, hours afterwards where you go out for drinks and you hang out and you talk about the movie and then you talk about other stuff, and, you know, one thing could lead to another, and, you know, maybe that movie was just the movie that you needed. I will tell you that Dances with Wolves was not the same experience. That was, like, 3 hours of cold, nasty, palm-sweating date experience, and it was kind of not fun, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You kind of got to know who it is you're going out with and what they're into and a little bit about the movie and how long it is and how much you guys might be into it. For me, like, when I started dating dudes, that was in college, and that was when the internet was just starting to take off, and I started talking to people on IRC, so I would kind of get to know people a little bit online first, and then get to meet them, go out to meet them. But I also would spend time, like, just going out to clubs and, like, just hookup after hookup. I mean, like, a lot of guys kind of go through that weird phase, so for me, like, dating when I came out was not exactly the same experience, that I had when I was dating that girl. It was much more immediate, much more about the sex, and I'm not ashamed of that, actually. I think that for some people, especially when you first are coming out, like, jumping right into bed, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that some people really just have that animal attraction. They just want to fuck, and that's great. Go for that. Good for you. But after a while, for me, it took, I don't know how many, but it just got to be, like, unsatisfying after a while. And it took me a couple of years to kind of get to that point. But I really wanted someone to stick around, you know, to, like, not, you know, just pump and go. I wanted to, like, you know, have somebody sleep over and stay, and then we go out and do breakfast in the morning and things like that. See, for me, a date is not just, like, a couple of hours. Like, I really want to, like, hang out with somebody for, like, the better part of an afternoon or, like, half of a day, or day and night and sex in the morning and then come back again, and then you do something for the whole next day, like, whole weekends. Like, that really is what solidified it. So, when I first started dating my husband, my current love of my life, we started talking online. We met on Bear 411. No judgments. And he lived in upstate New York, and I lived here in DC. And we started talking online, and we really hit it off. And he said he was coming into town for a protest conference. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about that. So the Conference on Organized Resistance was a very interesting experience. It was not something that I was used to, even though I had been in universities for years and years. I never really got involved in activist groups while I was part of the colleges. So, to go there was very interesting especially because it's here in Washington, D.C., where everyone protests all the fucking time. But it was cool. I went to these workshops on, energy work, during protests, and I met Starhawk, and that was just like this weird moment of like everything's falling into place. But the thing is that was a date. Like, this was actually like me and this guy. We had just met each other, and he invited me to go to this radical activist conference, and I was like, well, fuck yeah, that seems like a great idea. And it was a great idea. And it was so much fun. And what wound up happening was he stayed with me the whole week. And, I came home one day and he was cooking dinner for me. And he had cleaned up the dishes in the sink. And he was frying tofu, which I had never had before. And I was like totally shocked. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I knew that you were coming home from work and I made dinner for you. And that was when I knew that everything was right. So, dating for me has been strange. It's not just been like, dinner and a movie. I mean, I've done the dinner and a movie thing. I've gone out to dinner with people before, and it's not always been perfect. So sometimes the person you're with is just not the right person for you. Like, I went out with this guy once who was into being an adult baby back before I had watched A Dirty Shame. That was a trip. I was not ready for that experience, nor was it an experience that I particularly wanted to have. I'm a pretty vanilla dude, ultimately, even though I am into spreading the love around. I am not super into kink. So when this guy and I went out to dinner, I was like, wow, he's pretty cute and everything, let's see where this goes. And we go back to his place, and he asked me to change his diaper that he had worn all through dinner. And I was just like, no, you can take care of that yourself, and I will see you later. Not. And that was the end of that. I didn't call him back. I didn't go out with him ever again. Yeah. Sometimes it's just not right. And sometimes you get into these scenes where you meet somebody, and in the moment they seem like a good idea, but a couple times in, it's just totally not working. So, like, I met this guy once. He was super fucking gorgeous. We were out at a bar. We were both drinking, and that was probably the sign. Like, oh yeah, we're both really fucking wasted. Maybe we should sober up and see what happens. So it turns out that every time I saw this guy, he was really fucking drunk, and even every time he called me, he was really fucking drunk. And one time my dad pulled me aside for a random piece of advice, and I don't remember why this happened or where it came up or what the instigation was for this piece of advice. My dad told me, he's like, son, don't ever date women at bars. And I was like, why is that, Dad? Because they always go back to the bar. And that is so true. And it's a very true statement. I mean, not just about women and bars, but I mean, like, in general, about bar culture. Bar culture is about going back to that bar and seeing what else is there, because it's really about getting out there and seeing other people, not about really connecting. I think that bear happy hours have been a really great thing, and it's been a great opportunity for me to meet people there. But mostly it's friends. It's not about relationships. And I think that maybe that's what my dad was kind of hinting at there, was that bar culture is about being in a bar, with other people. It's not about being with other people. So maybe that's the piece of advice for this whole thing is, dating is about getting to know each other, and I think that everyone has said that this week. Mine's not any different, but I think that if you want to go out on a date with somebody, you really need to spend the time that it's going to take to get to know somebody. Don't just stop at an hour. Don't just stop at 3 hours. See how far it can go. I love going out with the two guys that I'm seeing right now. Not just my husband, but there's 2 other guys right now. And they're both radically different. One is very quiet, unassuming, and likes to go do all the lovey-dovey romantic things, and the other one's a lot more kind of, geeky and into, like, comic books and movies and crazy shit and games, and we do different things, like, between each other. So, get to know who it is that you're dating, find the things that make you jive, and jam on them together. There you go. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. I love the thumbs up. I love it when we get good, positive things. And if you want to see more videos like this, please go down into our YouTube channel and click the subscribe button. We want to get more subscribers. Please tell your friends about the Men of the Den. We want to see everybody everywhere. So you can follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook is probably the most active thing right now. You can also follow us on Instagram, which is probably the second most awesome thing that we're doing right now. And you can also follow us on Tumblr and Twitter, which are mostly pushing out the videos and the links and the pictures. But all of it is good. You can find us in any one of those places. Feel free to share our stuff, like it, subscribe, join the den, join the discussion, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers.